In this Simply English podcast, we'll explore how English conversations, listening practice, and daily sentences can enhance your language skills. Listening helps strengthen your listening, speaking, and comprehension abilities, making it easier to understand context, tone, and meaning for effective communication. It also helps you expand your vocabulary, improve your grammar, enhance your pronunciation, and develop a natural accent. Let's start now.
How to learn English from TV shows and movies. And I'm curious, what makes this authentic language so important?
Well, think about it this way. Have you ever heard someone say something in English that was grammatically perfect, but it just sounded a little off?
Oh, totally.
Like a robot trying to be human?
Yeah.
And that's because they're missing those nuances. The rhythm, the slang, the idioms, all of those things that really make a language feel natural and alive.
Yeah, it's like when someone uses really formal language in a super casual setting.
Exactly. And TV and movies are a great way to kind of learn those more natural ways of speaking.
Okay, so we're convinced authentic language is the way to go.
Right.
But where do we even begin? There's so many shows and movies out there.
Yeah, so our source really emphasizes this idea of finding content that actually matches your level. So, if you're just starting out, don't jump into Game of Thrones or something super complex.
Makes sense. I remember when I was first learning French, I tried to watch this French film, and it was just like a blur of subtitles.
Right.
That is way too advanced.
Yeah, exactly.
So what would you recommend for a beginner?
So for beginners, I think a good starting point is animation, like Finding Nemo or Toy Story, those Pixar movies.
Okay.
The language is clear, the visuals kind of give you context, and everyone loves a good animated movie.
Yeah.
So that's a really great starting point.
Cool. So animation's for beginners.
Well,
What about when you've got a bit more experience under your belt?
then you can level up to things like Friends, The Office, those sitcoms
Right.
with clear dialogue, those everyday situations.
Yeah.
Our source also mentions The King's Speech.
Oh, I love that film.
Yeah, it's a great example of beautiful, well-enunciated British English.
Colin Firth is amazing in that movie.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's a nice range for the intermediate learners.
right.
What about when you're feeling really confident?
Then it's time for the big leagues.
Okay.
Those really fast-paced movies with complex language like Inception or Sherlock Holmes will really put your listening skills to the test.
Yeah, those are super fast-paced dialogue.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the right show picked out. What about subtitles? Are they a friend or foe?
Ooh, this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Our source actually recommends a 3-stage approach with subtitles.
Okay, tell me more about this.
Right, so the first stage is you actually watch with subtitles in your native language.
Oh, so your first language.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might feel a bit like cheating,
Yeah.
but the goal here is just to understand the plot
Okay.
without getting hung up on every single word.
Okay, so you just relax and enjoy the story.
Right.
Okay, what's the next stage?
Then you switch to English subtitles.
Okay.
So now you're starting to connect that spoken word with the written form.
Got it.
You're starting to pick up on pronunciation, you're seeing the spelling,
Yeah.
and kind of making those connections.
It's like starting to tune your ears into the language a little bit more.
Right. And then the final stage is ditching the subtitles completely.
Ooh.
This might feel really scary at first. But this is where you really train your ear to understand English as it's spoken naturally without any visual crutches.
Wow, it's like jumping into the deep end.
Exactly. And it
Yeah.
forces you to really rely on your listening skills.
Yeah.
And to decipher meaning from context and intonation and body language, just like you would in a real conversation.
Okay, so we've chosen our content wisely. We're
Yeah.
strategically using subtitles. But how do we make sure that we're not just passively absorbing the language? I mean, we all love a good Netflix binge, but how do we make it into something more active?
Yeah, that's a good point. We need to make it active.
Yeah.
So this is where the magic of active listening and repetition comes in.
Okay, tell me more.
Our source highlights some techniques that can really transform you from couch potato to language learner extraordinaire.
Okay, I love that.
So first up, we have the pause and repeat method.
Okay, so what's the idea here?
So it's all about turning passive listening into an active workout. So let's say you hear a cool phrase or word that you haven't encountered before. Hit pause and say it out loud. Try to mimic the actor's pronunciation.
Oh, I love that.
It's like you're creating your own little language lab right there on your couch.
Yeah, and I bet that really helps with the pronunciation as well.
Absolutely. But we're just getting started.
Yep.
There's another technique called shadowing.
Oh, I've heard about this.
Have you tried it?
I have not.
So this is where you actually speak along with the actors in real time.
Oh, wow.
Try to match their pace, their intonation, even their rhythm.
It's like you're becoming their voice double.
Exactly. It's an instant pronunciation workout,
Yeah.
and it really helps you to develop a more natural flow with your speech.
That sounds really challenging, but also super effective.
It is. It can be tricky at first,
Yeah.
but the more you practice, the more you get used to it.
Awesome. Okay, so active listening, repeating shadowing. What else is there?
And another tip from our source is to really pay attention to those phrases and expressions that are used in TV and movies. These are often things that you won't find in textbooks.
Right.
But they're the key to sounding like a natural speaker.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because I was watching Friends the other day, and I noticed how often they use the phrase, "How you doing?"
Yes.
Which is just like such a casual way to say hi,
Exactly.
and it's not something I ever learned in a textbook.
Exactly. And it's not just greetings. Think about idioms like break the ice
Oh, yeah.
from The Office.
Which means to, like, start a conversation.
Right. Or like, I got your back.
Yeah.
Which shows support and loyalty. You hear that a lot in like those Marvel movies.
Totally. Yeah. So we're actively listening.
Right.
We're repeating phrases. We're picking up on cool idioms.
Yes.
Do we just, like, sit back and relax after the episode is over?
Not quite.
Okay.
Our source emphasizes the importance of keeping those language skills sharp, even after the credits roll.
So it's like extending the language immersion beyond the screen.
Right.
How do we do that?
So think about, summarizing what happened in the episode in English,
Okay.
talking about your opinion of the show, or even imagining conversations that you would have if you were one of the characters.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's all about actively using the language
Yeah.
and putting those new words and phrases into practice.
I love that. So we hope this deep dive has inspired you to turn your screen time into a language learning adventure. Now we'd love to hear from you.
Yes. What are your favorite shows or movies for learning English? What techniques have you found most effective?
Share your thoughts, your experiences, your recommendations. Let's keep this language learning community thriving. Until next time, happy watching, happy learning, and happy speaking.
Keep practicing, keep improving. See you in the next lesson. Subscribe for more.